It is customary to watch at least one Bengali film in theatres during Durga Pujo. And this year we had chanced upon Kacher Manush by Pothikrit Basu, starring Bengali superstars Prosenjit Chatterjee and Deb. Kacher Manush has an interesting premise, effective music, and an earnest Deb trying to break free from his typical image. Considering it is also his production house that's financing the film, the eagerness to be back to rooted Bengali storytelling is noticeable. But then Kacher Manush doesn't reach beyond being watchable. You hardly have a charm that you can carry home, more so if you compare it to the Bengali original from 1964, Jiban Kahini by the underrated Rajen Tarafdar, starring Bikash Rai, Anup Kumar and Sondha Rai, a film that Kacher Manush duly acknowledges in its trailer. It's all the same, the premise, the base characters, or the narrative flow, and yet the new film is nowhere near the one made 58 years ago. Today we try to understand why that is the case, which perhaps also points us to some perennial problems that Bengali mainstream from West Bengal is facing now for years. Before we go there, here's requesting some more love in terms of likes, shares and subscriptions. We are nearing the milestone of 10k subscriptions, and with your support we can get there by this month. Thank you for being there with us all this while. Let us start with the basics here, the plot and the theme. Two men, equally distraught with the demand of the metropolis living, meet each other while trying to attempt suicide. One, being an insurance agent, instantly realizes that the other's death might benefit his situation and goes on to strike a deal which works for both parties. Deb agrees to die, making Prosenjit his insurance policy's death nominee so that once the money comes, Prosenjit can take care of both of their families' survival. It was Bikash Roy for Prosenjit and Anup Kumar for Deb in Jiban Kahini in an almost similar setup. Kacher Manush gets to the point of this meeting at the onset of the film, after a few minutes of flashbacks of Deb and his family. However, in Jiban Kahini, this meeting comes almost 20 minutes down the line. A very important 20 minutes that Rajen Tarafdar uses to build up the theme of his film. We hear the heavy breathing of Bikash Rai during the start credits, an old man running around the merciless city to make both ends meet. We find him hiding away in his own home from the moneylenders. Watch the banter exchange between him and Sondha Rai, his daughter, and witness how economic scarcity takes a toll on relationships. This theme of economic crisis and subjugation of human life keeps coming back in Jiban Kahini as the primary theme till the bittersweet ending. Unlike Kacher Manush, Rajen Tarafdar's film goes beyond a story of two individuals to become a tale of universal appeal that captures the time of its origin. Kacher Manush had ample opportunity to get there. There's a mention of a chit fund, there's passing comment on the job market of the city, but nothing more to capture today's Kolkata. Perhaps the biggest problem that Bengali mainstream films are having for years now, always sidestepping politics and never capturing the time and space of Bengal to its truest. It is always about putting up an interesting premise or plotline on the surface, but never getting deep into that theme, never giving enough attention to the landscape or sense of the world in which the actions of the film take place, forcing the characters to speak or act just to fill scenes. It's in the essence and intricacies that the theme and atmosphere of a film gets built up, where Bengali mainstream makers keep on lacking. That is why a Chader Pahar shot in South Africa or a Professor Shonku or El Dorado shot in Brazil doesn't give the same vibe that the bare budget Doordarshan TV serial Abar Jokhir Dhan gave years back, having been shot in the outskirts of Bengal. While these new projects focus on a VFX anaconda or drone shots of Mount Kilimanjaro, the old ones focused on essence, the ideas of courage, adventure or friendship that stays back in our minds while the location backdrops fade. The same happens in Kacher Manush. We hardly root for Prosenjit as his conditions and crisis is never dealt upon. We never feel for Isha Saha's Kushum caught between two men like we do for Sondha Rai in Jiban Kahini, because we are never made a part of Kushum's everyday pain so as to cherish her growing ray of hope when a new person steps in her life. On the other hand, the character's countenance is so sunny in the first half of the film that you hardly connect her to Prosenjit, her brother on the verge of suicide. Well, that might be for establishing Isha's romance with Deb, or that might be for the surprise element at the interval point. But whatever the reason might be, it takes away from the organic flow of the film and its characters. Try a bit harder. Get the flow intact and still bringing romantic subplots and surprise elements without taking away from the narrative flow. We wish for the whistle-worthy moments from Deb or Prosenjit. We want a song sequence between the lead pair, and we also demand a twisty revelation, but never at the cost of the basic essence of the plot or the identity of its characters. And that's perhaps the second major drawback of today's Bengali mainstream. We watch the actors on screen playing unique and interesting roles, but hardly becoming characters with enough nuance that can be related back to real life. That might be the reason we watch Deb in his nice full-sleeve tees and trousers at home. The superstar always has to look good on screen. Prosenjit looks great as well, as the costume design of the film is in no sync with the characters and premise. The ripped-off clothes of Bikash Rai and Shondha Rai in Jiban Kahini states their living conditions early into the film, while Kacher Manush sucks up to the image of a superstar looking good on screen. Here's where someone like Hrithik Chakraborty varies, becoming characters and not an image that we can carry from one film to the other. Prosenjit too does the same, but limited to his off-mainstream track outings mostly. As for Deb, he really tries to break free from his image in Kacher Manush. If only the creative crew would be similarly honest and attentive. But then, does the crew have enough scope and bandwidth to hold on to attention and integrity? As we hear how Bengali films are expected to wrap up shooting within a few weeks, maybe that's why most of these mainstream films fall flat at the climax, somehow tying up endings in a process that produces whatever good was set up earlier. The third major drawback. Well, to be fair to the Bengali filmmakers of today, we must admit that Rajen Tarafdar's Jiban Kahini or any other projects of that golden era of Bengali cinema must have not gone through this kind of a crisis. There was a dearth of budget, technical enablement, or publicity campaigns at that time. But when it came to the creative choices, decisions, and directions, it was all about the director and his crew. So where does the root cause of this mediocrity of Bengali mainstream lie? In the monopoly of a couple of production houses who takes the call without investing beyond short-term profits? In the resistance of the cast and crew who hardly stands up to the moneymakers? Or is it just us, the audience, who keeps on demanding the Feludas and Bomkesh year after year, decade after decade, so as to complete this vicious cycle that turns an art industry into nothing more than a factory model? Yes, the industry structure is bound to look for profit and churn off money, but as S.S. Rajamouli says, that art should drive the economics and not the other way around. Although the Bengali industry has tried to imitate Telugu cinema for some time now, this basic understanding has gone missing for long. So now we ask, what's the way out of this problematic loop? Well, there's no easy answer here. It would also be very prudish of us to send sermons sitting at offset. But we genuinely believe there's a way around. If Bangladesh can with minimal money, enablement and platforms, so can we. But it will need a bunch to get into the mud to clean the water. It cannot be done from a comfortable distance and then jumping onto the benefits when they start yielding. We as audience need to play our part here and keep on demanding for that missing quality that pushes more individuals to come out of the ongoing factory model. And then hope for the resurrection of Bengali cinema that was the go-to place for the entire nation in the past. And guess what? Jiban Kahini, the film we discussed, is a well-told tale of that very sense of hope, which inspires us to move on even if there are new hurdles coming our way each day. That is all from us today. Thank you for watching.